join us to host this workshop on personal branding. So Gaffar is an all-round communication strategist with a background in journalism, copywriting, and podcasting. And he has 4 years of organizational communication experience with the Erasmus Student Network, ESN, and Asia Europe Foundation, ASAF. And so I'm going to hand over the mic to Gaffar to host this 1 hour workshop. So Gaffar, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you everyone for joining. I see quite a few people online now. I also noticed that people are joining at the moment as we speak. So what I propose is, why don't we all take 2 minutes and go to the bathroom, grab a drink or something like that while people are still coming in. We'll start at 7:05, so in just 2 minutes, okay?
Yeah, I'm gonna grab a water.
I'll see you in 2 minutes. Perfect. Let's see. I'm going to try to not butcher your name, but I just wanted to point out some people that are here. We have Nicola, Mehdi, Damiano, Yekaterina, Nikela, and let's see. We have Sandip, Ashish, and Michal. Great, that's nice. We have a nice group here. Let's see, 1, 2, about 10 people all together at 7:05. So we're going to start. First of all, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. We were a bit unsure whether people would join or not for this session, but this session was created in response to the first Tuesday after work. The board hosted the first Tuesday after work and asked the question of what would you be interested in learning about? And I think the general vibe is that people in the community would like to learn about things related to personal development. So project management, maybe time management, working in a team and these kinds of things. And out of all these topics, I proposed personal branding. So I hope you do find it useful. Whether you do or not find it useful, please also let us know later on after the workshop so that we can build upon this and maybe deliver more or deliver something different and things like that. Okay, so getting down to the practicalities first, let me first of all get a few things out of the way. First of all, it's a Google Meet. You look like you know what to do in a webinar. Everyone is muted, so that's good. Please stay muted. If you need to ask a question, I encourage you to use the chat function. So you can already switch on the chat on the sidebar, just so that we don't interrupt if not necessary. Let's see. We will also be using partially an online collaborative tool. It's called Mural. I will send you the link later on and I will show you also how to use it. But a couple of tips, give me a moment. Yeah, a couple of tips. If you can see in my background, over here it says questions, chat. So if you have any questions, put it up on chat. And over here, in case you're wondering what it says Zoom and double click. And these are the concepts that are important in the on Mural later on the online collaborative platform. I'll explain to you when we get into that. Okay, practicalities out of the way. Let me explain a couple of things. This is a webinar / workshop on personal branding. But I am not, let's say, I'm not an expert on personal branding. This is not a complete guide on how to use how to create a personal brand and how to use it. but I do promise you that you will get inspiration, you'll get motivation, you'll get some tips, and some resources as well that will help you along, because a personal brand, you can't really build it in 1 hour. So that's one thing. The other thing is the workshop is interactive. So usually in an interactive workshop, you get out of it as much as you put into it. So pay attention, try and ask questions if you have any questions. And when there are interactive elements, also put in the interaction there. Okay. So far, so good. I will take silence as permission to proceed. So if there is anything, please write it in chat. If there is nothing, I assume everything is okay. Tiao is helping me, so in case something comes up and I don't hear or I don't see, she will help me out as well.
Yeah, for sure. And you guys can find the Miro platform link in our chat already. Maybe you can sign up to get yourself familiar with first. Yeah, please, Gaffar. The stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Okay, so first of all, my name is Gaffar. I'm the community manager, community coordinator officially of the EIT Digital Alumni. My job is basically to support the board. As you know, the board is made up of volunteers, and they may not always be able to be present, or they may need an extra pair of hands. So I help with everything from administration, communication. As you can see now, I'm helping also with the Tuesday after work, which I enjoy a lot. I was born and raised in Singapore. I studied in Rotterdam, and I'm studying in Amsterdam at the moment. I studied communication and media in Rotterdam, and I'm studying political communication in Amsterdam at the moment. And I've worked for a total of about 4 years in organizational communication, not-for-profit organizational communication mostly. And at the same time, I'm also a training facilitator. So I do these kinds of workshops, usually live. This is the first online workshop that I'm actually doing. So if things are not completely smooth, please forgive me. And also, the people who attend my workshops, in the online workshops in the future, will have a much better experience thanks to your patience and your feedback, hopefully. So thanks for that. Let us, let's get down to business. If there are any questions at the moment, feel free to type it out. If not, I will continue. Okay, I now have a link, if you can see in chat, to a mural, to this collaborative platform that I was talking about before. You can click on it, and I should be able to see you coming on. I already see 3 people, 4 people on. Anonymous, raccoon, penguin, shrimp, duck, sheep. Perfect. Let's take a couple of minutes. If you're already on the platform, let's take a couple of minutes to just familiarize yourself. The 2 most important concepts are zoom and double click. As you can see here, zoom and double click, right? You can zoom in all the way, you can zoom out all the way, and this is how you kind of navigate around. You've already seen, I see people double clicking. If you double click, you get a sticky note, which is how you can type something. So you can double click, and then in that sticky note that you created, you can type whatever. So you can try that now in the empty space. Just double click and type something in that empty space. I'll give you just a minute to get used to that. Perfect. Fantastic. I see a hello. I see a couple of people. Yeah, you've created sticky notes. You've deleted sticky notes. That's great. Fantastic. Is there anyone who has problems with this, cannot access it, doesn't know how to use it? Please type in chat. I was setting quite high expectations for this group because it's the alumni of EIT Digital. So I assume that you are very tech savvy. Ling is already creating a personal profile. That's perfect. Let's get into it then. I don't see any questions or anything on the chat, so I will assume everything is okay. Your first exercise is to create, well, your introduction, let's say. You can see a lot of boxes there. Pick one of the boxes. Okay, no, let's do this. Hover your mouse over the box that you want to write in, as long as someone else is not there already. Okay, just pick a box. Some people are already writing their names. You can write your names. Yeah, sure, go for it. So you can call dibs on your box. Perfect. Tiayao, Sandip, Craig, Ling, Riyang, Kate, Michael, Nicola. Okay. Nikela. I need some help there. Could you unmute yourself and say your name? Nikela? Nikela. Nikela? Okay. I will assume it's that unless you come in. Okay, perfect.
I don't know if you are referring about me. Mine is Nicolae, but there is another Nikela, I think. I'm not sure.
Okay, it's Nikolai. Okay, and Nikela.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the other person, but...
Just so that I don't confuse. Okay, so what we're going to do is, first of all, let us introduce yourself. I've already done that myself. So if you zoom in on my name, you can see the picture and a few things about myself. You can do the same for yourself. It's entirely up to you how you want to introduce yourself. Write whatever you want. You can write it small also. It doesn't matter because we can zoom in and see it later on. I'll give you a couple of minutes to do that.
Illusions cause stages ago. From a distance, see myself existing. Pretend to feel your undertow.
If you want to add a picture, on the left sidebar, you have something called images. You can just click images and then search for whatever image you want, and it'll come out.
To the desert, the same hoping. We're hoping for dark cold winter sun. My body is better call my mind is overthrown.
Fantastic. If I don't see any activity in your box, I will assume you are finished. So then that's how I will know to move on. Oh, this is fantastic. Very nice. Keep going. Don't bother too much if the box is moving or if it's messy. It doesn't matter. Just put it out there. If you're finished, you can also just start reading everyone else's introductions. I will do that as well. Fantastic, people. Very, very nice. Keep it up. Keep it up. Someone made a sticker. God, this is too tiny. I know, that's what she said. You can zoom in with your scroller. I don't know what it's called. A scroller? That thing on your mouse. Okay, I'm going to give you 1 more minute to finish up. And I will read in the meantime. This is going very well. I'm very pleasantly surprised. Thanks for putting in all this effort to create your brand actually already. Okay, I see that people are mostly about done. We will continue in just a moment. So if you can finish up. All right. Okay, let's proceed. Thanks again for creating all of this. Very lively, very colorful. There are a bunch of different images and everybody has got a different thing. Everybody has got a different introduction. If you haven't already, okay, let us start reading some of them. If you follow me on this screen, I'm zooming in on the top left. So Jia Yao, you can see a beautiful picture of her here. Interaction designer. She's a developer. And she's also a foodie, a keyboard nerd, and a second shop enthusiast. Sorry, I don't quite understand. What does that mean? Could you let us know?
Sorry, typo here. It's a second-hand shop enthusiast.
Okay. Second-hand shop enthusiast. Okay, thank you very much. Let's move on here to the right. As you can see my profile, this is the flag of Singapore. I was born in Singapore. I'm living in the Netherlands. I'm the community manager and I'm a political communications student. We'll go to the right again. Let's see, Mehdi is based in Belgium. He likes or he does drone photography. DNN. What is DNN? Could you let us know? Mehdi?
I meant deep learning. Deep neural network. It's
Deep
a branch
neural
of machine learning.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Maybe everyone else in this room knows this, but I don't have a background in what you have studied. So I'm a little bit clueless there, but thanks for letting me know. Okay, let's see. We'll go to Kate, working as a researcher, researching creativity in creative writing. Very interesting. Love cycling. I saw someone else with a love for cycling as well. I'm just going to touch upon a few things here and there. Ling has got a green background with yellow sticky notes. Michael has got a picture of a bicycle. He's studying embedded systems in Stockholm and Eindhoven. TUA, Eindhoven, I think. Yeah. Currently in Poland. Let's see what else. Nikolai was born in Romania, lives in the south of Germany at the moment. Also like cycling. There's a lot of cyclists around here. I also like cycling, but I haven't put it on my little introduction. Okay, so that was a brief overview of all of the different introductions. Now I need a little bit of your interaction. Is there anybody that would like to make an observation about what you see? What can you learn from what you see on the screen?
To me, it's more like for individuals board. This each note is like a bullet point describing one aspect of this person, and usually we are describing like from our profession, our study track, and also our hobbies.
Very nice. Profession, studies, hobbies. I will keep that in mind for a moment. I will come back to that idea. In the meantime, anyone else wants to make any other observations? Okay. So professions, studies, hobbies, these are very often the things that you introduce yourself with, right? My name is blah, blah, blah. I work as a da, da, da. In my free time, I like to do whatever. This is a common way to introduce yourself, but if you think about it, this is also a personal brand, because first impressions matter, right? When you meet someone, you introduce yourself to that someone. What you say is going to shape their image of you. And in a way, this is personal branding. Other ways we can understand personal branding, we can see Ling, for example, maybe she likes the colors green and yellow. If she doesn't, it's a subconscious decision. But still, your personal brand to me at the moment is green and yellow. So it maybe you like nature, or maybe you just, I don't know, maybe you just like the colors. I see quite a few people here with colorful Post-its. So that might, I mean, it may or may not say something about your personality, but it definitely contributes to your personal brand. Kate, Craig, Ray Young have colorful Post-its. Yes, let's see. With Michael, for example, I see immediately a picture of a bike, and in my head, I cannot get out the image. Michael is on a bike cycling, probably long distance, because you can see the bike in the middle of the road with a lot of luggage, with a Polish flag also. He has something to do with Poland. Let's see. Right. Sandip has a picture of a mountain. Oh, he's Nepalese, makes sense. There are a lot of, it's a country famous for mountains. Living in the Netherlands, maybe it's so flat that you miss the mountains a lot. You had the need to use the image of a mountain. Okay, so that's just a small little exercise to introduce to you maybe the idea or the power of such kind of representations about yourself. So at the moment, these are the only things that we know about each other. Or at least, well, maybe some of you already know each other, but for me, when I think about Michael now, I think bicycle immediately. When I think about Ling now, I think about UX UI designer. When I think about Nikolai, I think about, this blue and green, nice colors, born in Romania, right? These kinds of things. The primary message at the moment being that your symbolic representations of yourself, so whatever that we can see from you, this is your personal brand at the moment. But don't worry, we'll go a little bit deeper into that. Let me see. Okay, so let's talk about branding and personal branding. Before we go to personal branding, let's talk about branding itself. I'll need you to come back to the Google Meet. Actually, no, I apologize. Let's go to the mural again. So I will see you on mural. I see quite a lot of people there already. I hope you don't mind. I'm going to delete these things that are in the brainstorming. So let's do a little brainstorming exercise. I will ask you for ideas. The question is, what is a brand? When you think of branding, right? What is a brand? And if you have the answer, there are many answers, of course, you can just create a Post-it here in the brainstorming and then write something inside. So brand could be, I'm going to start, a brand could be colors. So I'm going to write in my yellow sticky note here, colors. What else are brands? I see logo. I see a brand is a reputation. Very nice. We're already going into something a bit more intangible. Colors, a brand is a story. Yes, absolutely. The story of rags to riches. Somebody who was poor and then becomes rich. That is also a brand. Somebody, a brand could be somebody was born in Romania and lives in Germany now, right? So there's that journey involved. A brand is a public image in others' eyes. Yeah, exactly like we discussed before. What do others think about you? A brand is identity, absolutely. It forms a part of your identity. To be more accurate, it forms the perception of your identity by other people and not necessarily your own perception of your identity. A brand is a vision. I'm not sure if I'm interpreting this correctly, but the way I understand what you're saying is a brand is where you want to be. So a brand is something that you build. A brand is something that is a journey, perhaps. Maybe you change your brand a little bit. A brand is visual. Yes, a brand can absolutely be visual. A brand is how we would like to be seen. You can remove the question mark. This is a brainstorming. There are no wrong answers. So all the answers are correct. A brand reflects ideologies. It could be, yes, I think absolutely. It doesn't necessarily need to be, but it should, it could. A brand is a value system. It evolves over time. Different ideas. Very nice. I like it a lot. It takes time to build a brand. Nice. Good. Yeah, absolutely. A brand is well known. A brand is emotion. A brand is impression. The impression that you make on other people. A brand is, the mood that you associate with it. Absolutely. Let's take Nike, for example, right? One of the most well-known brands in the world. So Nike has a mood of enthusiasm, optimism, right? Just do it. So definitely mood association. Let's see what else is here. A measure of goodwill. Can I ask for help here? What does that mean? Whoever who wrote a measure of goodwill. Can you explain by unmuting yourself?
By that, I meant the value that you have. For example, if a company has a brand, then that brand has a value that can be measured with, say, asking for a loan or something that you already have. That's the measure of the goodwill that you have in the market.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for explaining. What I particularly like is how we all have very different ideas. Not saying that it's not compatible, right? Because there are very different ideas. Some are very tangible. Some are more abstract. There's some are visual. Some are very, very diverse ideas here. Perfect. Thanks for that. Thanks for participating in the brainstorming. I wrote a couple of ideas down myself. I'm just going to read it to you now. Some other aspects of branding you can think of. A name is a brand, especially for a company, right? But also your own personal name. A logo, colors can be brand. The font that you use, the typeface. A slogan can be a brand. A jingle can be a brand. A jingle is a little song, right? A scent can be a brand. The smell can be a brand. Like if you go into an Abercrombie and Fitch store, for example, or if you go into, I don't know, Victoria's Secret, there is a very special, unique smell that you associate with that. A brand can be the people that work for a company. Somebody already said reputation, stories. Yeah, it's your persona, it's the values, it's the tone of voice that you speak also. So there are so many different, ideas of what a brand is. We can study this for a long time, but let's focus a little bit more on personal branding, right? So there are some overlaps. Of course, there are a lot of overlaps between a brand in general and personal branding in specific. But in a personal brand, you would also start thinking about the clothes that you wear. The type of clothes that you wear signifies style. It signifies social status. Let's not get into the discussion of whether social statuses are good or not, but it does signify, when you wear a tie, you signify that you belong to the class of people who work in business, offices, generally speaking. Personal brand could also be accessories. It could be your personality, how friendly you are, how you speak, your tone of voice, whether there is a lot of what do you call that now? Inflections, whether there is changes in your tone. A personal brand could be your skills. You already found that out from the introduction. It could be your interests. It could be your nationality. It could be your cultural background. So it could be a lot of different things, of course. Today, in general, we would focus a little bit more on digital personal brands, because that is where we often spend our time. That is where we often meet people. That is where we often build connections in that way. So your digital personal brand could be your profile photo on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, for example. It could be a cover image. It could be the colors that you choose to represent yourself. It could be a one-line bio. Like on Twitter, you have an introduction. On LinkedIn, you have an introduction. These are all your personal brands. And these are all very powerful, right? Because that's the immediate image that people get of you. Your name. Everyone will, people will generally stereotype or come to conclusions about who you are based on your name, even, or based on your nationality and things like that. And it's not always fair, but to a certain extent, we can control it a little bit. So let us go into Google Meet. I'm going to start presenting in just a moment. Right. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes. It's loading.
It's loading, yes. Yeah. Okay, just a moment. Okay. So we've been talking about branding and personal branding a lot. There is a quote that I really like when it comes to personal branding. It is this. Branding is what people say about you when you're not in the room. Let's let that sink in for a bit. Think about that for just a moment. Maybe also think about what people have said about you. So maybe someone said, hey, George told me the other day that you're a very, very friendly person. Or, yeah, I've heard so much about you. Somebody said you like cycling. Think about that. What have people said about you when you're not in the room? Okay. And now we're going to do a little exercise. I'm going to put pictures of famous personalities on the screen. And your task is, I have to improvise a little bit. Right. Your task is basically, as soon as I show the picture, you should type out words that you associate with that person. So what do you think about when you see this person? Basically, what is the brand of that person, right? Don't think too much, just put it out there. But I do need to improvise. Let's see. Okay, so this is what I'm going to ask you to do. If you can type out your answers in Google Meet, and Tia, if I can ask you to read out the answers when they come out. Is that okay?
For sure.
Fantastic. Thank you. Okay, so ready? Here it comes. Some notable personal brands. When the next slide comes, type out some answers in the chat. Here you go. On purpose, I'm not going to say the name.
Revolution.
But yeah, whenever you're ready, you can just read out.
Sure.
Revolution. Great.
And Cuba. Soldier. Freedom. Power. Liberal.
Revolution, Cuba, freedom. Sorry, what was the last one?
Power and liberal.
Power, liberal. Okay.
Leader.
Leader. Fantastic.
Determinant.
Okay. Determinant. Okay. Yeah. Let us stop there for a moment. Many brand attributes, as you would say in the industry, brand attributes, just elements of a brand, basically. Revolution, Cuba, freedom, power, liberal, leader, determinant, all from simply seeing one person's face. Right? This is Che Guevara, obviously. So all of these feelings, these are all his brand, right? These are all the things that you think about when you think about him. When you see his face, immediately these ideas come to your mind. So in a way, branding is about linking ideas in people's minds. So preferably, I assume you would like, when people think about Michal, for example, maybe you would like to think, oh, Michal is professional, or Michal is, very organized or whatever, or, oh yeah, Michal, the guy from that startup, or, so these are the kind of things that you want people to do. Next picture is coming up in 3, 2, 1. Bam. There you go. Oops. Whoops. Do we have answers?
Visionary. Virgin.
Visionary. Uh-huh.
British.
British.
Confident.
Mm-hmm. Confident. Wow. Okay. Mm-hmm. Visionary, British, confident. Anything else?
And music.
Music. Yes. Okay. Okay. Just in case there is anybody who doesn't know, this is Richard Branson, the guy who came up with Virgin, basically, right? It's a company. It's a group of companies that does all kinds of different things. They have airlines, music labels, gyms, and all kinds of different stuff.
Yeah,
so the
indeed.
ideas, imagine now. Sorry, Zia, what did you say?
Indeed, the audience say from Nicola, successful, and from Michael, Branson with brand in upper letters, and controversial from Lin.
Controversial, even, yeah. I like this. I like these answers very much, because we're starting to go into very abstract things, right? Like confident. How do you know that he's confident? Yet you associate him with the idea of confidence. You associate him with the idea of being a visionary. This is part of his brand. I think more likely than not, a lot of these answers will come up if you ask, a million people what they think about Richard Branson. So he has created an image of himself, a personal brand of himself as a successful entrepreneur, somebody who has a vision, somebody who is confident, right? These are his brand attributes. I'm going to go into one last image, if you're ready. Some of you may already have seen it. Bam, there we go.
Audience feedback. Leader.
Leader, yeah, absolutely.
Hope.
Hope. Wow. Okay.
Change. Decent. African American.
Mm-hmm.
Politician.
Politician. Yep.
Expressive. Charisma.
Charisma. Yep. Expressive.
trustworthy.
Trustworthy. Interesting. Thank you very much. Okay,
And
I'm gonna.
Nobel Prize.
A Nobel Prize. Did he win a Nobel Prize?
I think so. The Peace Nobel Prize.
Oh, really? Am I ignorant or what? Sorry if I.
Not.
If that's true, I feel a bit ignorant. But okay, let me keep it at that. So far we have. I will focus a little bit more on the first three answers that I heard, at least. That is a leader. That he represents hope. And I don't know if hope means that you think that he represents hope, or you are referring to that poster of him with the word hope, and that he represents change. Now imagine if people think about you. People think about Ling, for example, right? And people think, oh, Ling is confident. Instead of thinking like, oh, Ling comes from this country, or Ling studies these things, people think of you as, oh, confident. This is a choice, basically, right? Because Obama is not all of these things simply because he is these things. It's these things because some person in his communications department chose to promote these things about him, that he's a leader, he's full of hope, that he's change, and these kinds of things, through a political campaign or through social media and these kinds of things. The one takeaway that I would like you to, take away is you can, to a certain extent, control your personal brand. If you would like for people to see you in a certain way, it's possible. Right? Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Let's see. Okay, perfect. Okay, so now we have looked into some people's personal brands. Now we're going to work on our own personal brands. Then this next part is a bit of an individual exercise, let's say. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to narrate a few questions. I'm going to basically ask a few questions. And you will answer those questions by yourself. If you have a piece of pen and a paper, you can write down the answers. If you have a notepad or something, you want to type it out, that's also fine. If you don't want to write it, it's also fine. But I do encourage you to write it, because you may be able to use these notes later on after the workshop in the future to create your own personal brand. This is basically just a thought exercise to get you to think a little bit about who you are, right? The exercise is called Who I Am. Who am I, actually? Like the Jackie Chan movie. Right, okay. So I'm going to start reading out some questions. I'm checking the chat in case I missed anything. No, I see everything. Okay, perfect. Okay. So think about these questions and write them down, or type them out if you like. How do other people view me? How do other people view me? I'm going to move on. Don't be too worried if you haven't finished. It's just some questions to get your thinking going. What are some of the things that others have said about me? What are some of the things that others have said about me? Again, I remind you, if you have any questions or you need to highlight something, please type in chat. The next question is, who are some people that I look up to? Who are some of the people that I look up to? What are the characteristics that I admire in them? What are some of the characteristics that I admire in the people that I look up to? The next question is a bit heavier. For the people who are a bit superstitious, I'm going to knock on wood before I ask it. The question is, how do I want to be remembered? Okay. Thank you very much. I'm going to take a pause in this activity to ask you a couple of questions. If somebody has responses, please type it out in chat. Actually, you can also just unmute your mic if you like to answer these. One question is, did anyone surprise themselves with their answers? Did you surprise yourself with your answers?
Yes, I am a lot.
A lot, yeah? Okay.
What about others from Ling? No.
Anyone else? No. Ling says no. Okay. Tia, do you mind sharing why you were surprised?
Yeah. Well, I thought I'm quite busy with all kinds of stuff in my daily life, but when I writing down the answers of your 3 questions, it's surprised because what I wrote down is not aligned with what I'm doing now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you for sharing. I know it may be a little bit personal, so I appreciate you sharing. Thank you. I would like to pick up on that point because I think it's very useful and we can all learn a little bit from that. So let me explain the questions. The questions that I asked before: how do other people view me? What are some things that others have said about me? These kinds of things. These are generally the image of you that other people have, and not necessarily the image of you that you have of yourself, right? So it's not always aligned. What you think you are and what other people think you are is not always the same. So one thought-provoking thing that you could do is, if you want to build a personal brand, just ask your friends or ask your not friends. Who do they think you are? What do they think about you? Just, some casual questions like, hey, I hope you don't mind. I'm working on my personal brand. Can you let me know like the top 3 words that you would describe me with? And this would give you a good impression. And if these 3 words are what you want to be, then you don't have as much work to do as if somebody would tell you something else completely different, right? Okay. Let us continue with this activity. One last final part of the activity. Using everything that you know so far about personal branding, everything that you have learned from each other, everything that is going on in your mind, I would like you to write your Twitter or LinkedIn bio. Maximum 2 sentences. Imagine you're on Twitter, you're on LinkedIn, and you need to write your own bio. what is the brand that you would like to build for yourself? I'll give you about 3 minutes for that.
A question here. It's gonna be in a professional setting, like on LinkedIn. So I more describe myself from my job or what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Or like just a social media account like Twitter or Instagram.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Very, very good question. So depending on the channel, you can choose. It's entirely up to you. So for example, even if you are on LinkedIn and you're a comedian, right? You may not want to be so serious on LinkedIn. It's really up to you. Just write whatever you think you are comfortable with.
Yeah.
Thanks, Yael. Okay, I'll give you just about 1 more minute to wrap it up. Is everyone ready? If you are, can you type yes on the chat? Yes, Mehdi is ready. Sorry?
The first yes from Maddie.
Yes.
Just out the answer.
I take it to mean a lot of people are not ready yet. So maybe 1 more minute. Just 1 more minute. All right. Let me kindly request your attention again. You can continue working on that bio a bit later on, but hopefully you already started to get some ideas and some thoughts from the workshop so far. Okay, let's see. Where were we? Right. Okay. Let us do things a little bit differently now. I feel like I've been talking a little bit much. If anyone wants to share their thoughts, you can unmute yourself. I'd like to know, how was the exercise? How was it? How was your experience of writing your own bio? Anyone?
I can start with myself. Especially when writing down the answers for your 3 questions, how other people view me, and who are the people I admire, and also what characteristics they have. I start understanding myself a bit deeper. So what's my kind of deep desire, who I want to be. And also by writing down a short bio on for my social media account. So it's kind of a very, it pointed out what kind of value I can provide to others people so that they would like to know more about me.
Thank you for sharing. I see Craig as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, yeah, writing these questions that you gave us, I'd never really, I mean, I thought about this before, but not like in this sense of like giving myself a brand and who am I and what do I want to be perceived as. So it was quite interesting to go through that. I also found the question about like who are some of the people I look up to quite interesting, because naturally I would always think of, I don't know, celebrities or like business leaders or stuff. But when I was really thinking about it, it's people who are actually in my life, like maybe a colleague or a boss or someone who I want to be more like, yeah, who's more tangible to me. Yeah, it was interesting. I'm kind of like enthusiastic to go and ask people now what they think about me, these questions that you said.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I think that's very important. Who you look up to definitely doesn't have to be celebrities, right? It could be anyone around you. The point being that you then ask yourself, what are the characteristics of these people that you like, and why do you look up to them, right? Anyone else? How was the experience? Okay, let me move on to another question then. What did you learn from doing this activity? Hopefully somebody, I'm hoping for someone who hasn't spoken up yet. If you don't feel comfortable speaking up, you can also type. The question is, what did you learn from this activity?
Well, I guess I can say something about it.
Yes, please.
Yeah, well, it's not that I learned, but I guess it will be rediscovery in a way that when we started presenting ourselves, it was more about I am doing this, I am doing that. It's a very activity-oriented thing, so it's more of like what do you do rather than who you are as an individual personally. So I kind of learned like how it becomes very more interesting and memorable if you go into abstract. So if you start talking about I am kind or I am confident, it just goes on a deeper level, and this is kind of like the way to connect more.
Yeah, very, very useful perspective. Thanks for bringing in that angle of things. I think it points back to the fact that branding is very multifaceted, right? There are many different ideas, many different angles you can see it from. And if that is the angle that is useful to you, fantastic. please use that. Okay, I will ask one last question. So you can, if you have an answer to what did you learn, you can volunteer to answer that, or you can also think about how do I use these learnings in the future? What did you learn, or how can I use these learnings in the future? I open the floor to anyone.
I would like to say, by asking myself what ideal personal brand I want to have. It's also like sorry for my pronunciation, Catalina said, it's kind of my goal, what ideal person or persona I want to be. So it's kind of a goal to refine my self-image or moral standard. And also when describing my own personal branding to others, so I can show a few bullet points. Okay, from these aspects, I have this value. So for the future, it's also like a goal for me to make those aspects more visible or measurable, so other people can better understand me in the when we just first met.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thanks for sharing that. Very useful, very actionable terms. You said, for example, that to make it more visible and prominent, that's definitely a very communication / marketing / branding kind of idea, right? And a quote that comes to mind when you say that is, it's something like, yeah, it doesn't really matter so much what you do, but it matters what you say about what you do, right? And you can agree or disagree with this quote, but to a certain extent, it's true, because if a tree falls in a forest and nobody sees it, right? Did it fall or did it not, right? So if Gaffar achieved the trophy, but nobody knows that he achieved a trophy or he won a competition, then it doesn't really help your image or brand so much. These are just some thoughts that I think are useful when we're thinking about personal branding. So thanks for the inputs, Katarina and Tiago so far. I will leave the questions at that, and I would like to also, with an eye on the clock, it's 8:05. So for the people who were planning on staying only for 1 hour and have to leave now, please do so. I'm just going to take about 5 to 10 more minutes. If you're available to stay, then of course please do stay. I'm just going to wrap up with little, let's say, tips from my side. So this has been a very interactive workshop so far, and this is, I believe, in my personal opinion, it's the best way to learn. The best way to learn is not to take all of the knowledge from one person, from an expert, but to share knowledge amongst ourselves. And you have contributed to a lot of the learnings that we have all done so far. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much. But I also have a few things that I think may be useful for you. I'm going to share my screen now. So in case you're not looking at the screen, Google Meet is where I will be sharing my screen. Here we go. Loading.
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Fantastic. You should see Obama in just a moment.
No hurry. Okay.
Yes, we can. Okay, fantastic. So a few tips that I would like to share with you. Hopefully it's useful for you. First of all, please get a professional photo taken. And when I mean professional, I really mean somebody who, takes photos for a living, or at least somebody who takes photos as a serious hobby. It makes all the difference. The first thing that people see of you online, whether maybe it's your profile picture on a conference that you're speaking at, or maybe it's your LinkedIn profile, it's your CV, it's your Twitter, it's your whatever. This is one of the first things that people see of you. And you may not be able to tell whether it's a good photo or not, but your brain is able to tell whether it's a professional photo or not, for example. In my opinion, very important, get a professional photo taken. It usually, if you pay someone to do it, it's maybe €100 or something. But if you have a friend, you might just be able to buy dinner for them, or like cook dinner for them, or something. But this is important. Let me illustrate the effects of a photo, for example, right? So this is one of the most my most used photos. I very often use this photo because you can see the professional photography through the blurry background. That there is something happening in the back, but you don't know what. It's focused on the face, and there is also there's a little logo on the side. If anybody knows what that is, you earn a prize from me. Jose Carlos doesn't count. You cannot answer that question. JC. The other photo that I often use is this one. So this one still projects a kind of a professional image. Well, at least I'm wearing a shirt. I'm looking serious-ish. I'm also not looking at the camera. It makes me look almost like a visionary. I'm just saying my own opinion. Of course, you may think other things when you look at this picture, and that's absolutely fine. But yeah, I have to choose which photo I want to use depending on what I want to project, the image I want to project. If I want to project something professional and approachable, I might use the one on the left. If I want to project something like, I'm a strategic visionary, I might use something like the second photo. But I might also use this other photo that you probably maybe have seen before. A very casual one. I'm wearing an orange hoodie. I have a Dutch flag on the cheek, right? I'm smiling very widely. I'm very happy for some reason. The background is colorful. There are a lot of people. You don't know who or what, but you might think, oh, he's a social guy, or he's an approachable guy, or he's a, whatever. So these are all things, especially if you talk to a professional photographer, they will be able to help you give a little bit of direction to project the image that you think is most useful for you. I'm not looking at the chat, by the way, so Tiayao, if anybody says anything, please let me know.
There's a serious comment from JC. JC agreed with what you said, and he said, especially in German-speaking countries, having professional photo session is a must.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thanks for that support. Okay, so professional photo so far. I was thinking, for example, one of the things that we could do, but it's coronavirus, so we can't do it now. If there is the annual meeting or some kind of meeting of the alumni community, I would be very happy to, set up a photo booth and just help everyone take professional photos for free. So if that happens in the future, hopefully we'll be able to do that. But at the moment, unfortunately not. Let's see, next, choose your brand colors. This is also interesting. What colors do you think represent you? And there's a whole science about color theory. You may have heard about, for example, the color red makes people hungry. That's why KFC is red, McDonald's is red, Wendy's is red, these kinds of things. Blue is trustworthy. So for example, for some reason, all of the social media platforms want blue, right? LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, they all want to be, maybe they want to project the image that, it's a safe platform for you to use, something like that. There is a rule that I like to abide by, maximum 2+1. What does that mean? 2 colors is, so for example, you can see I'm using 4 colors here. I'm totally breaking my own rules, but these are not my brand colors. 2 colors is like McDonald's, right? Red and yellow. So that's 2+0, basically. A KFC is like 1+1. That's red plus black. Black is a neutral color, so you can't really escape from it. There's always kind of have to be either black or gray or dark gray. If you see this screen, by the way, choose your brand colors. This is not black. It's dark gray, and I'm being a little bit. What do you call that now? I don't have a politically correct word for this. Never mind. I'm being a little bit picky, let's say. But these things make a difference as well. So let me illustrate a little bit. This is the slide that I have used so far. It projects a certain idea about me, but I could also have chosen to do this if I want you to kind of think, this is something that you can trust. It's a trustworthy workshop, let's say. Or I could also use this, but the problem with this is it might make you think of McDonald's, for example. But just to kind of throw out some ideas of how different colors can make you feel different things. So if you have a website, for example, it's generally a good idea for you to choose maximum 2+1 colors to represent yourself. Let's see. Next, choose your typeface. Also, typeface is font, basically. Fonts, they convey very different emotions and feelings. Again, there is an entire science behind it, and people spend a lot of time creating different fonts. I recommend 2 different tools. The good thing about Google Fonts, or fonts.google.com, is that all of these fonts are available on G Suite, basically. So every time you use Google Docs or PowerPoint and all these, you know that you will definitely be able to find them regardless of the computer that you're using or whatever, right? You don't have to download them. So that's why I suggest that. And fontjoy.com is just a tool that you can use to try out different fonts and also different font combination. If you can see here, I have this line, choose your typeface. It's in serif, right? So there are these little tails, let's say. In the Y, the head of the Y is, there are serifs. The foot of the R, there is a serif, and these kinds of things. But then fonts.google.com and fontjoy.com, these are without serifs. And I don't want to go into that too much, but it just conveys different information. And I'm sure that you can look it up yourself. So let's try a couple. Let's see. So this is personal branding. This is the kind of font that I've chosen. Sorry. It could also be that, right? So generally speaking, the serif font like this is a bit more traditional, and this one is more modern. It's cleaner. It's more for like the titles display, for example, but it's also round. So it's not so intimidating. It's not so strict, let's say. It's more maybe approachable. But I could also use this, right? And this kind of conveys an image that I'm a little bit more playful, a little bit more, casual, informal. So this would be useful for a creative business maybe, or if you produce greeting cards and I don't know. So just to convey, different impressions of things that you can do to play around with your personal brand. I'm going to move on. I feel like I'm going a little bit too fast, but then again, I'm going to rely on Tiayao to let me know if anything is happening in chat. We already talked about this. Craft your one-line bio. You cannot get away from this. Our generation in 2020, a lot of us live online. Most of us live online. So it's very useful to create a one-line bio that people remember you by. And you can use the notes from your previous exercise. Google your name. Also, this may or may not be something that you've done before, but it's pretty fun. Google your name, see what's out there, just so that, and use like incognito so that Google doesn't, use your cookie history to give you information about your name, or like use a different computer or something like that. People, especially if you're looking for a job, they Google you, because why not? It's the simplest thing to do, and within 1 minute you have a lot of information about the other person. I did that just recently, and I found a lot of things that my blog when I was 15 and things, so I deleted those things. You might not want them online. You may also want to set up a Google alert.google.com, just to let people, just so you receive a notification when people talk about you. Me, for example, I'll share a tiny bit of information. Gaffar Rampage. Rampage is not my last name. A lot of my friends even don't know this, but Rampage is not my last name. But I chose it because I did not want to put my full name, real name online. Some other people do that too. I know that Germans, for example, for some reason, a lot of them have social media names that are not real, or at least like a short version or something like that, so people can't really track them. So that's something that you might want to do, because your personal brand is something that you project to the outside, but you also kind of have your personal life that you don't want people to know about, and that's absolutely fair. So yeah, do what you need to do. Just some ideas to get you going. I would also encourage you to maintain an online presence in any way, right? On LinkedIn, ask your friend to write recommendations, and if you write people recommendations, they might write you recommendations too. So don't just expect them to do that for you for free, of course. You know, get people to endorse you, endorse other people as well. Run an Instagram, create a website, anything. Maintain some kind of online presence. I don't need to say more about this, I assume, because of the demographics that you belong in. And then once you do that, create content, anything. Upload some photos on Instagram, make some videos, podcasts, poetry, music, blogs. Maybe you have a case study from your work. So for example, at some point I created a workshop, and I also created a making of the workshop. And this making of the workshop I published into a blog. So now part of my image is, oh, he can create workshops, for example. If you have a startup, you know, you might want to blog about how it was to start the startup, or, you know, you might want to share some tips about how was it to work with your team remotely during the coronavirus lockdown and stuff like that. Anything. And my last message here is seek the like-minded, because you can learn a lot from them, and they can learn a lot from you. Like I said, for example, ask your friends what they think about you. And if you are operating in the same space as other people, right, they might be able to share ideas, offer tips or something based on things that you cannot see yourself, but they can see. Okay, I think that was the last slide. Bam. That's me. I'm not really trying to promote my LinkedIn or anything, so doesn't really matter so much. Let me stop sharing here. Okay, I've stopped sharing my screen, I think. Okay, so thanks for sticking around. I've taken more time than I meant to take, but I hope that doesn't cause you too many problems. I see don't choose Comic Sans though. Yes, absolutely. I have such a pet peeve about this, because people just don't understand that fonts give you feelings and emotions, and Comic Sans is definitely not an emotion that you want to convey in a serious setting. But if you are creating a greeting card for your 2-year-old cousin, that's absolutely fine, of course. Let me see. Okay, so one of the last things that I will ask you is, after this workshop, I'm going to send you an email with the slides, with the link to the brainstorming, with some of the outcomes that we have recorded, and also personal brand workbook from PwC, right? So this is an extensive workbook. If you really feel like delving into and creating your own personal brand, there is an entire, like, I don't know, I think it's 20 pages exercise that you can do. Just something like more detailed than what we've done today. So you'll receive that in your email inbox as well. All I need you to do is write your email in the chat. So I will send an email to all participants. Don't worry, we're not going to use your emails for anything else. I'm just going to send you one email about the outcomes of the workshop. And also in that email, I will ask you for a favor, because I'm a training facilitator. I do this regularly, let's say, and the most valuable thing for a person who is a training facilitator is to receive feedback. It's a very short questionnaire. You don't have to answer all the questions if you don't want, but it will help me deliver better workshops in the future. And I would really appreciate it if you take a couple of minutes of your time. The link will be in the email. But in order to send you an email, I will need your emails in the chat. So put that in the chat, please, and I will send you an email then. I think that's about it. Let me check my notes. No, that's it actually. People.
Thanks a lot for this engaging workshop. Meanwhile, I'll start the video recording. Later on, you can find our session on